it's a good thing going on with you, just personally, that's my hope. It's my hope.
What is happening? I said, what is happening?
The world's ending. The world's ending. The world's ending.
Is it really though? Is the world ending? Can you feel that? Can you feel it? Well, somebody just said it to you out loud, so it went inside your brain hole, and out the other end, you're processing that right now, right? I mean, you can't help it when you hear a statement like that. Is the world ending? Is it? Let me just double check really quick. I mean, seems okay from here, from this angle, at least from this very second in time. It seems okay. I got blue skies. There's plants. They're not dead yet. These plants are crushing it, basically. Even though it looks pretty, and was pretty hot out there. Another toasty day in paradise. It is good to see everybody. I mean, nobody's in the chat yet, but that could change, It could change at any second. Somebody might jump in the chat and be like, "What's up?" And then we make a new friend. We make friends. We'd be friends, sort of weird internet friends, in a sort of vague, disconnected way, but still friends. Take what I can get. I'm letting this happen, letting this stream run, because this is probably the last good footage I'm gonna get out of this window of these trees. I'm packing up shop, packing up and heading out. I have to pack up my whole rig, and yeah, I know some people just can get by with a phone, maybe. Some other things, but there's a couple more production elements that go into my personal setup that I use for many different reasons. So for many different reasons, it all has to go in the box because I am headed out of town. But at the same time, we can still hang out. I can still press that stream button. It's not shut down yet. And so I just wanted to get on here and show you guys these images, bring you some Californian skies, right? Because we're back to that solid blue, that real solid blue that doesn't go anywhere. Nothing sort of fascinating to report in the sky. And right, if you watch the sky, you will too notice this. This comes in waves at certain times in certain ways. You'll get this blue sky and it'll just power through for It's hard to say. Could be probably days, weeks, maybe. Wouldn't surprise me. The trails will be back. The trails always come back sooner or later, but at least for the time being, right? You're seeing this very, very solid blue. And that's, seeing nothing is also interesting in and of itself, I would say. It's bizarre to think about large swaths of the earth just sitting there unlayered, unprotected. And I've noticed all sorts of animals, birds, pets, even sort of like the reptile lizardy things. They try to stay in the shade. They try to get out of this direct burning face burning sunlight blueness, because it will burn you. I've been burned already by this bright blue sky. It's hot. And maybe that's just what we got going on here. But I mean, you see it too, right? You see Nibiru. That's a lens flare. I meant lens flare. It's a lens flare. It's definitely a lens flare. But what this always gives me an opportunity to watch and check out is the classic changing of the guards, the end of one day as it snaps into the next. And I'm not talking about sunset. I'm talking about a little something that seems like the shutting off of the simulator. And there, did we miss it already? So you see this color, the blue, and then there's this gray tint. It loses all color. It loses all of its color instantaneously. And again, this is a time lapse. I mean, I'm not sure if your eyes would adjust like this. It must have something to do with the camera and the losing the light and all that kind of stuff. I'm resigned to that being a factor here. But at the same time, you see this abrupt shift, right, that happens. I'm sort of scrubbing it back and forth. This is actually even worth stopping the timeline to show you guys because, right, it almost gets brighter again. So that was me scrubbing back. Okay, let's get in here really, really granular just for 1 second because I think it's worth it. So here's the exact moment. It's right here when it shifts. So I'm just going to back it up a tiny bit and play it from there. Bam. I don't really see anything else. Right? All the other sort of light sources seem to stay steady. If you look at the trees and any sort of the other areas, it doesn't really seem to be directly affected by this color change. But it's something I've noted, at least where I'm at. I mean, it happens every single day, and maybe, I don't know, is it the sun just passing in front of that specific rock, or I'm sure there's 1,000 explanations for why the entire sky changes color instantly. So, maybe it's that rock, maybe it's the sun simulator. I don't think I'm going to get to the bottom of it, but I do know that that's weird. I hope you would agree with me that it's just kind of weird. It's just kind of weird.
Well, hold up. See, even after all this setting up, it's still just Time to get everything working. Wait, hold up, I'm gonna turn to the screen. Just the way it's coming. Here comes the changing sound. Okay. Anyways, reload. Come on, Paige. So, just getting into a tiny bit of news. I'm not sure. Oh, what's up, Grant Harper? Yeah, we are Legion, you know. Usually there's, take some time to realize that you're Legion, but you are. That's what you are. We are all Legion. What am I trying to say here? They are moving the capital city of Indonesia because of global warming and climate change and global heating and whatever other sort of name you want to call it. At any rate, right?
Oh, I got the voice changer on. I could feel that. I could feel that in the background. Yeah, Jakarta, India. It's sinking. It's all sinking, or the sea's getting higher. Sea level rise. That sounds like another familiar phrase. That seems to be happening, and right, I guess people never really liked it in the first place, but they're gonna move it. Right? 95% of the city's northern district is expected to be underwater by this point. So they're gonna move the entire thing. Yeah, dude. Yeah, dude, Grant. Well, you're holding it down. You are living the dream. Just that it's hard to just know what to do with your time. Sometimes you get on a stream, sometimes you watch a stream. Sometimes you just sit there and like watch paint dry. I don't know. No, I've never actually done that. Like with intention. Yeah, definitely a lot of earthquakes going around as well, and that's an interesting factor as well. You see these sort of cavities opening up and water pouring into it. I mean, water it's got levels. And sea level's not all at the same level, which is another important thing to realize. Right, but these are all based on projections and ideas, but it's definitely very powerful for the narrative and just the general selling of this whole concept when they're moving major capital cities based on the changing climate. I mean, is that what's going on here? Is everybody going to pull up ranks? I wonder what happens when the resources really start to get scarce. Because everything seems to still be flowing, right? You got some tariffs, you got some other sort of problems in the way, but honestly, like it's I don't want to like project and hope that it's going to get so much worse, but it just all signs seem to point to that actually happening, right? Because they're talking about that whole city being underwater, whether you get into that or not. At any rate, it is pushing people very like intensely in this direction to change things, to enact change and do it because you feel bad, because, well, I don't know, you just use too many plastic things that you bought from China. It's like, I don't know, so much of this system, even though I guess a lot of people aren't actually aware that they're controlling it or being controlled, it still is that way, right? This entire world is just sort of a collection of events, people stopping and changing and going back. Whether it's with intention, whether there's somebody masterminding the whole thing, that's, I mean, I guess a question for another time. But I don't know what's going to make this thing work. And by thing, I mean the country and the world actually sort of coming together and working a little more together, because that just seems to be a big part of the goal, right? If we're ruining the planet and we're all doing it together in different ways, well, then we better all sort of get together and get on the same team, because then, well, then we can solve it together, right? But as we all just sort of devolve into this fighting, you know, and causing extra charges for everybody just because of the fighting, then, right, it's just being driven home even further that we need to get together. We need to make a plan. We need to solve this together, right? And even though Jakarta sinking and Chinese tariffs don't really seem like related stories, that they sort of are. They sort of are, dog. No, I didn't write because I am packing up. My brain is tearing apart because I gotta get all this stuff packed up. So I haven't. You know what is even going on in the news? They got this G7s happening. There's a bunch of posturing. Again, it's all the same sort of roots back to that same issue of protecting the planet. Oh, we can't do this like working together because, right? People are making weird decisions. They're rejecting this money that the G7, right? Calling them colonialists, not appreciating the money coming from the G7, and just, I guess, sort of burning it to the ground. And are we going to use this as like a tactic to, I don't know, take over? It's a pretty good argument, I guess. If you wanna take over the Amazon and keep it from burning, to save the planet, then you got to kick out whoever's being a totalitarian that said this thing. Senior official, we don't trust you. And, well, what's going to happen there? I mean, this obviously doesn't seem like it's going to be allowed to go on uninhibited for too much longer. That this whole phase is, you know, just everything seems to be some sort of argument and push towards, yeah, togetherness. Let's get together. Let's get it together, because apart, well, we're just gonna break the whole thing. And you may lose some of your culture and some of your own freedoms, but it's gonna mega be worth it, because then the planet's not gonna melt. And like, if all of that's true, that's I mean, that's why I guess I see everybody out there in the world getting behind this and getting these ideas in, because if all of those parts of the story are true, then yeah, there's what else is there to do? Right? But certain people keep pushing that old way of being. They want to stay in the past, right? And that's just it, dude. Yeah, you gotta sacrifice. You gotta just take a break. And there's, you may have heard somebody sending me an email. There's just nonsense flying around everywhere. But I still feel like I should bring you some facts here from Legion, because I was talking about it yesterday, and I just wanted to get into it a little more in depth, because I actually finally watched the final episode as well. So let's switch back here. This is another piece of news that I found just as we round out the news section. Did you know that certain people think that Michelle Obama is a man? Oh, what's up? What's up, Steve Kelto? Yeah, thanks for checking in. I appreciate that. Now it seems like there's real people out there. Yeah, it seems random with the. I guess I'm streaming all over the place. Sometimes we get a good crowd going. Sometimes it's a little more sparse. But I'm not gonna let it bother me. It's just the nature of reality, and I stand by the fact that it helps my brain to talk about stuff. So, well, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for joining me.
So some people do think that Michelle Obama is a man and part of the transsexual agenda and just general all of that she's probably going to run for president at some point in the future. And maybe there'll be some big reveal that's like, yeah, I was trans the whole time. And you didn't have a problem with it. Now that you know, you're just, right? I'm the president. Deal with it. Picture that scenario. That could be interesting. But this I just thought was interesting from it was from Reddit, and just this argument that's creating here, and a lot of these comments could probably just be from bots, or I mean maybe they're real people, but just the way this argument is formed up, right? Oh, ask the question. Hey, I've never heard of this extremely well known theory about Michelle Obama. Right? Actually, secretly, man, she's also transgender. Don't know why. I have no idea. This doesn't make any sense. But always just racism, sexism, transphobia, and anti-intellectualism all rolled into one. Right? None of it could possibly be true because if you entertain those thoughts, you are all of these things. Right? Only you could. If you're a bad man, then you will think these things. You will feel these things. Right? More like deep-rooted sexual fantasies. Still covering your ground. I'm talking about other people. It's not me. And then it links back to Alex Jones. So that makes a lot of sense. Then you never need to sort of look at that again. And that's just I don't know, pointing out how that's how ideas get formed. This is how you never think about this theory ever again. You just read these 4 or 5 lines and you're all read up on the subject. No need to look at any pictures or look any further into it. That's case closed. Case closed.
Let's talk about entertainment.
Oh man, the hexagons, they're relentless. They never stop. They if you notice the hexagons, then you know what's up, right? You see that they're sort of capturers, protection agents. I don't know, I'm still forming my theories about them, but it seems to be like, right, if you want to stop some spells or keep things in, right, it's the hive mind as well. All of that symbolism fits in there that you might actually consciously think of in your brain, but they're obviously, I don't know, there seems to be some really high level magic that is able to go on through the use of shapes, especially when used in entertainment. And right, no surprise, all of these elements are combined together in this image: the red and the blue being used for just general mind control, as they are the farthest apart colors on the spectrum. Very eye-catching. And the hexagons, right? Just key to this entire experience. Yeah, right? Right, Grant? It's math. That's some math right there. And so this, right? Obviously, a little convoluted, this show, complex. But I wanted to get into just very briefly these opening title cards from the beginning of the episode, right? And this, I mean, a lot of it is about these concepts that things they're round, they come in circles. The time is what is their line? Time is an ocean and not a river. So it's something that that you can dive into and move around in, and that it's not fixed and only flowing in one direction, right? If you can figure out how to swim, then you can swim upshore, right, or upstream, or there's no stream. You're imagining the stream. But I think it's just interesting, right? Because all of these things, even unrelated, that's my whole thing, unrelated to the actual storyline, these images, ideas, thoughts, words, they go into your mind and settle into your general well-being and feeling and how you are doing in the day. And right, when it just so happens that whenever you turn on the TV, you hear about the end of the world or see things like this on screen, this is the end, right? You like the clip I showed at the beginning, like, it's the end of the world. It's over. It's end. This is the end. It's the end. It's over. We're all gonna just melt, and it's the end, right? See logging, like, but it's also a new beginning, right? Interesting. Trees with leaves, trees without leaves. Things go in cycles, and I guess that's the heavy wisdom that they're trying to pour on you here. And that's why it's such a double-edged sword looking at this entertainment, because you will understand more about reality when you look at this stuff, but it can also convince you of things that you never intended on believing or thinking. And it will burrow into your subconscious and stay there, basically permanently, having an effect on your character, your choices, your general outlook. You know, what effect, I guess it's variable, but in the end, we all sort of aggregate into the same direction, into the same area. And that's what they say, you know, what it all means is not for us to know. This really, you should not really bother trying to figure this all out. You should just sort of go along for the ride, right? It is for history to decide. This is not your problem to figure out everything that's going on in the world. You shouldn't even really try, right? Case closed. Just listen, and then you know it, and you don't have to look into it anymore. All we can do is play the parts as written. Are we playing parts? I thought I had free will or something. Did I make that up? Is this just like a play? All we can know is ourselves. Which links to the next one.
I simply can't quit.
All we can know is ourselves, right? So what are this is the opening sequence from the last episode of the season. I mean, what does this have to say about us and our culture? Is this true? Are these things that you actually feel are true? Or do you think they're subtly trying to implant certain behaviors and certain ideas, certain thoughts, certain ways of being that is maybe detrimental to the whole system, or just makes you more subservient, easier to control, just in general, right? Why bother trying to figure any of this out? You better just play your part. You can know yourself, but don't try to actually get to know anybody else.
Who might you want me to suspect? I simply can't. Nor would you want me to.
Such a pleasure to see you again, Charles. It's been quite a pleasure to see you again.
This is
Pascal.
I came here in good faith.
And I don't want to get copyright strikes for playing too much copywritten content, but if we just sort of jump around here a little bit, the duality, right? Duality is really important in all of these esoteric teachings, and obviously those esoteric teachings are going to be important to people that are creating the content, so they're going to insert a lot of those ideas into the content itself, because right, it's hard to hide it when I think you're into this stuff as deep as some of these people are. Even if you try to keep it out of your work, it's inevitably going to come out, right? So we see, right, these are supposedly the good guys and the bad guys. It's often this same, right? I think it has to stay simplistic in the symbolism, because otherwise it doesn't enter your subconscious, right? But we have here the dark, the black. He's our main character person, and then his father. Because of time travel, they get to team up. He's got the white. He's got more of the conscience, and right, they fight against the also split version of the bad guy, right? Here's the more sort of calmer, nicer version of the bad guy, and the more insidious version here in the front. And, well, what can I say? I think this is a common device, and I was seeing another channel talking about that and some other videos, and I can't get this idea out of my head, right? That what they portray on screen in these characters is this sort of split of you, right? This is your bad decisions and desires, and then your good decisions and desires, and hopes to be kind and happy. And when they personify both of them, they just put them out there and have them sort of arguing and fighting back and forth. They can make you side with either side, right? And in the end, you end up not really into the good guy or the good side of the good team. That's what I'm saying. It gets confusing because now you got this quadrat, this sort of square formation between the good and the evil. But maybe that's part of the concept too, right? There's good, and then there's good and evil divided within good, and then there's evil, but there's still slivers of good and evil divided, right? And I just see these concepts permeating a lot of stuff. There was Good Omens on Amazon, and right, if you really look, that was I can't remember that guy's channel's name, but he had a video about Rick and Morty and how that's his thesis for Rick and Morty, that Rick is right, the left brain, and Morty's the right brain, and it's those different sort of decisions and competing desires that compete against each other, right? Long story short, if you put this struggle up on screen, right, you can sort of subtly, I think, control how people will react under certain moral stresses or moral questions and conditions. They will, right, even when you see on screen somebody getting stabbed or killed, maimed, that depending on how these types of characters interact with each other, right, you're going to know how to judge or be angry about that situation that arises in your life. If it's even remotely tangential and in some way related to what's happening on screen. And that's why I think a lot of this stuff is sort of, broad strokes, because that lets you paint the ideas all over your life very quickly and easily, without too much filtering, right? They wanna keep it pretty straight ahead. So this is also interesting because this whole show is just about vague consciousness, in a sort of superhero format. It really is a good show. I again would recommend checking out Legion. But here we see this is another sort of character arc combination here, but on these same lines of multiple characters just being an extension or a division of one greater entity, right? So that's in this whole show, right? You got this old guy, which he's unrelated, old guy. It's pretty dark, huh? And this very young girl, which I guess again is sort of reinforcing, because they really do have sort of a very strong bond with each other, reinforcing more of that man, much too younger girl love that I guess, I don't know, we just constantly seem to see all over. But they somehow have the power to combine into one body. And so they can either become her or they can become him. And they're able to sort of even transfer, like she gets really hurt and transfers all of her injuries to him. for example, that they're just extremely bonded on a much deeper level than I guess should physically be possible. All packaged in this, right? It's sort of right, way too young. This relationship really shouldn't exist per se in I guess certain moral circles, but it does in the show, and it's made even more deep, right? It's justified because of the magic, the powers that they have when they can combine together. And that's what she said. If I can pull her quote.
I see it now. Your gods. I wish.
Right, and she's just sort of picturing that, imagining that a little bit. They're right. That they are just mutants, but how do I explain it? How all these different cues, all these different concepts come together, right? Gods, and then the picture of this, right? Because that goes into a lot of the esoteric teachings as well. The androgynous master god, right? That is both sexes. It is sort of a fluid combination of the masculine and the feminine, and that is like sort of for them the one true god and the one true power out there, and that somehow I guess trying to get closer to that, they've been pushing this. But I don't think it shouldn't really surprise anybody to have this concept in here. I just thought I'd pull that apart there for a second because I think it's important. The relationships that are portrayed, right? But we're getting into why this is actually called Legion, or we are Legion. That's actually like a hacker thing, right? From back in the day, the Guy Fawkes mask and everything. And I always sort of wonder, why do they call this show Legion? And for the hacker group, I mean, you can sort of look into that in your own brain space. But yeah, I guess you should vaguely know about the Guy Fawkes masks and those anonymous videos. I mean, if you're here on YouTube, then you've probably seen one of those anonymous videos. And that's sort of the concept that there's just infinite, sort of secret agents out there. They're a giant team, and they're going to be able to take it all down from the inside, because you don't know who Legion is. Like, everybody could be Legion. And here's, right, I don't think I would trust this article telling you what the meaning of it actually. It is an interesting phrase because it is so sort of vague and powerful. It's actually a biblical quote. Interesting. Jesus comes upon man. What is that name? And he answered, saying, "My name is Legion, for we are many." The demons in the man were working as one entity, which is a fitting parallel to the group, right? Okay, so that makes more sense now. I'm figuring this out on the spot here, right? So this whole show really is about the demons that possess this main character. How, right? And here's a pretty cool shot, actually, of him, dancing. Millions of copies of him dancing over and over again. And this all ties into all of that sort of MK Ultra, mind control, split personality, paperclip, just sort of project, right? Just the same way, I don't know, everything just seems to circle around to the same subjects. And to tie it all together, right? We have these characters. I guess they're Japanese. I think they're Japanese. And she's sort of the master time traveler. She gets it all figured out, and is able to just sort of travel through time. And right before she thinks she's gonna die, she figures it out better and like breaks through to the next sort of like level of consciousness or understanding. So he's like, "What are you? What are we? There are many names for four-dimensional beings like us. but I would like to call you daughter. I mean, it's just sort of, it's touching, I guess, in a way. And she's happy about it. But again, right, just another point for this whole show. Hey, what's up, Michelle? What's the word? What is the word?
What is the word?
To show that there's four-dimensional beings as superheroes, and this is something that very few people are actually capable of doing or controlling, right? I'd like to think that most people could actually time travel if they could just wrap their heads around what that even means. Do you think you could time travel? If you really understood, like, what it would take, maybe you could just send your body down there. And I like to think that there's just so many hints about it being real in, entertainment, that it would be interesting if it was real. Not interesting. I think that would just be what's up. I think that's what's up. Honestly, I think that's what's up. That time travel is real. And what makes me think about that even more, I'm just trying to pull up a picture here. Ugh. Come on, skills. Time. Right? Because all of these shows, they sort of have the same... They're all pulling from the same source, let's say. Because a big part of it has to actually be true. So this is in the Arrowverse universe. It's the same concept, right? They're all sort of running, and then some of them can run faster, and then they travel through time. That's how you get time traveling. But what happens in this show and also in Legion is that, there's consequences for that. So if you run too fast, you might like wake up these bad guys. Time remnants? No. Is that the wrong concept? Do you know what I'm trying to reference here? They're like time... I'm not going to figure this out on... See, that's why people get organized. But in the Flash, my point is, in the Flash, there are the same sort of time demon things that get mad at you when you time travel concept. And it's a big part of this whole show. And if it's a big part of the Arrowverse, and then also a big part of, by extension, DC's Legends of Tomorrow and a bunch of those other shows, right? And so now we're talking about crossing over Marvel and DC. These are crossing over even those sort of comic book universes, and we're still coming up with the same concepts, the same ideas. Then I'd say there's a good chance that's connected. It's all like interrelated and stuff. It's all like connected. Like it's all telling the truth, but telling you live versions. So it's like disclosed, but they also don't have to worry about you anymore. I remember there being like some rule, like they have to tell you. Like, vampires, they gotta let you in. Or, no, you have to let the vampire in. That's what that is. What's up, Woke and SoCal? What is happening? What's up, Steve G? I mean, those are sort of the major points that I had to make here. And, that's just the nature of my reality. I can't help but notice parallel structures or hexagons. I mean, it's really it's the kind of the first thing that I notice. What is the shape? What's the composition? Oh, it's parallel. Maybe we're supposed to feel for these characters, because they're being locked in here. Maybe that's the case. Okay, dogs. Well, I'm gonna skip over here. It's always totally real. Just hanging out live on air. It is it's exciting. And even if there's not, a million people in here, it's just good to see anybody. See people just talking, being like, that's weird. That's a good idea. That's a really bad idea. And I don't know. I'm like willing to just take in whatever I can grab, especially if it's interesting. Project Manhattan was just to make the ship disappear for 3 seconds. It went like 4 miles offshore with people stuck in the walls. I think you're talking about what's it called? The Philadelphia project. That was that thing with the boat and the degaussing. Oh, and because they didn't calculate Earth's rotation. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, dude, it's good to chill with you too, Grant. I wanted to get on here one last time because, yes, I am indeed going to be breaking down all my setup and moving to another continent, in which, I will eventually get this monster rig set back up, but I will be coming to you probably from my laptop in sort of strange locations. I may make some edited videos because, well, there's just really bad internet. It's really bad internet over there, so it's hard to know if I'm actually gonna be able to stream live or whether it would be stable or a good idea.
What's up, Paige Robinson? I'm sticking around. There's no stopping this stream. Yeah, I'm just gonna keep going and checking it whenever I can. I know everybody's life is crazy, but mine's pretty crazy too. And I just sometimes need time to get organized. Like I gotta get my toothbrush or something. There's just like a million things to do. It's good to see you, Paige Robinson. It's good to see you, Steve G. I'm gonna go back to just figuring out my shit. Oh.
Yeah, sorry, Paige. We've already been hanging out here for like an hour. I mean, you're welcome. You're welcome to check it out in the past, in the on the replay or whatever. I'd say the most important thing is to notice that the sky changes like massively color at a certain point during the day, and it does it every single day. And I think it's the best sign that I can even think of for there being a sun simulator or some sort of artificial sunlight being created all throughout the day. Because I don't think a color change this abrupt. I feel like the sun, because I don't see the sunset from my location, but I feel like a sunset would cause a more gradual change in color and lighting. But we have this very beautiful sky, blue, most likely artificial. And then we see the rusty, dark, deep purplishness that's what the actual sun is probably putting out. Because that plasma apocalypse is coming soon. And all the signs are out there, and they don't want us to pick up on those signs because then we would like plan and start to go underground. Because, yeah, when the sun comes up in the sky, you would see it. It would be just like this scary monster red thing. And that would just freak everybody out. So during the day, they got to turn on the blue light. Just keep it nice and, very believable. But at a certain point, they do have to shut it off because otherwise it would just stay light the whole day. So, yeah. Then you see the real sun just for a brief moment before the actual light goes out. Yeah, totally, dude. Yeah, I just went on a whole tangent there, but that's what I mean. I appreciate you, Paige Robinson. You can rewatch, but I just I felt like interacting just for a second. Yeah, and just I mean, I encourage everybody also to watch like Mr. MBB and some of those other channels. They see this stuff all the time these days. It's like, right, the sun is supposed to be rising like here, but it rose over here, and then it sort of like switches back, and right, and that's always sort of the excuse. You don't understand enough about planetary science, or you don't know, you don't have all the factors, so you just don't get it, right? But sometimes I don't know. You got to go with your gut. You got to feel what's in your body, and I feel like pain being in the direct sun, being in this blue, scary sunlight. It hurts my skin. I can feel it right now. Like I got a sunburn. No, and there's obviously something weird going on. I think that's why we can all sort of feel it. And I don't honestly don't blame them for setting up a sun simulator and trying to hide the whole thing, because like, right, we society would be fully melting down at this point if this was the whatever is creating this light later in the day was actually allowed to be seen by the general public. I bet everybody would just be fucking flipping their shit. And it's something that's been prophesized in a lot of those other prophecies, right? The blood red sun and the China and all that kind of stuff. And all that's supposed to like trigger higher consciousness and other sort of other crazy nuts things. All right, that's the other thing about Mr. MBB's been reporting on all this like crazy electrical activity that there's been like in Poland. A bunch of people got like electrocuted, like 100 people got electrocuted in one solar or lightning storm, and right, people's hair standing up when they're climbing a mountain or something, static levels just being through the roof, and something's up, right? You gotta feel it in your bones. But as with everything, it's just hard to say what is it a sun simulator? Is it something that's just temporary and it's they're gonna put the real sun back in place, or am I just tripping out? Is this just me tripping out and making stuff up? Yeah, I think, yeah, I gotta get out of here. I really would love to just sit on here for a couple hours and chill with you guys. See what you guys are thinking. What do you guys think? Yeah, Steve G. 5G test for rush area. Oh, that is a good idea. Yeah, I don't know. I think the whole Area 51 thing is a lot more about disclosure propaganda and trying to just see that even deeper into the consciousness that there are indeed aliens and crafts and all that kind of crazy stuff. I doubt many people are actually going to go to that, but it was a really good marketing campaign, like an alien marketing campaign. Um, it's like that with all this stuff. Yeah, with Cascadia and everything else. What is the truth? You hear somebody rumbling so many scary things about it. Is that the entire operation, the rumblings and the scariness? Never to actually happen, because that's the great immobilizer. That keeps us also very easy to control and easy to manipulate when we're always worried about something terrible happening. And that'll sort of freeze you in fear. I mean, I guess you do have to live one day at a time. But at the same time, if you're just totally terrified, then yeah. So I try to balance that out because I love looking at terrifying stuff. I love looking at end of the world stuff. But I really started to question myself in recent times. How much of that it was me, and how much was I funneled into that? How much? we got double 55s on the clock here. I think that might be my cue. Maybe I'll try to get on here tomorrow night. But I hope you guys all just, I don't know, keep living the dream. And I mean, it's the cliche stuff, question everything, but I mean, I guess you should question everything. Question general stuff. If you question everything, then you're completely lost. Like, it's going to be impossible to make a decision about anything. You'll just sort of wander. But if you have like a desire soon, like I want to go, I want to go outside and smoke. How much is that actually me, the substance, the culture? Can you even pull any of that apart? Or is it all stuck together, too tight to even analyze?
You guys have a good night. I don't think
I don't think you're dead. I don't think we're dead. I don't think it's an Ubik situation. You should definitely read that book. Ubik knows what's up. We may be dead. Is that possible? I like this guy's theory that we all died in 2012 and this is just us living through sort of the shock of that we couldn't come to grips with all dying instantly. And that's why everything's sort of repeating and there's just sequels to everything. There's like no new content. Everything is just like a copy of something that we already had and has been for, since 2012. That's kind of a weird one, right? Okay, for real though, this has gotta. I'm gonna go do some other stuff, but yeah, much love, guys. Take it easy, and yeah, do whatever you want. I think that's the point. Like, do whatever you want, but just think about whether it's actually what you want or whether some company is wanting you to want.